Ladies and gentlemen, there's a voice within each of us that often whispers doubt. It's the voice that questions our dreams, magnifies our insecurities, and convinces us that failure is inevitable. This voice grows louder every time we hesitate to act. But let me tell you something fundamental: life's most profound rewards lie beyond that hesitation. Don't be afraid to do it, because the alternative is stagnation, regret, and unfulfilled potential. Fear is a peculiar thing. It's a force that grips us in moments when we stand on the threshold of something significant. It's not there to punish us, though it often feels that way. Fear's purpose is more profound. It's a signal, an indicator that we're confronting the unfamiliar, the uncertain, or the challenging. It's the body's way of saying, this matters, and yet, too often, we misinterpret it. We treat fear as a stop sign when, in reality, it's an invitation to grow. Think about the times you've been truly afraid. Not the surface-level apprehension of daily life, but the deep, unsettling fear that arises when something important is at stake. Maybe it was a career change, a difficult conversation, or an opportunity that seemed too big for you. Fear tends to show up when the stakes are high, because it's connected to something meaningful. It's a biological mechanism designed to protect us, but it's also a psychological hurdle that can keep us from reaching our potential. The key is to recognize fear for what it is: a marker of significance. It's not there to tell you to turn back. It's there to let you know you're standing on the edge of something transformative. And that edge is where life's most profound experiences are found. Fear means you're stepping outside the boundaries of your comfort zone, and while that's uncomfortable, it's also necessary for growth. The life you dream of, the person you want to become, doesn't exist within the confines of what's safe and familiar. But let's acknowledge something: fear feels overwhelming because it thrives in uncertainty. The human mind craves predictability and control, and fear exploits the absence of those things. It whispers worst-case scenarios, exaggerates risks, and minimizes your capabilities. This is why many people retreat. When fear arises, they convince themselves that staying where they are is safer than facing the unknown. But here's the truth: safety is an illusion. Avoiding fear doesn't eliminate risk, it simply shifts it to a different part of your life. When you let fear stop you, you pay a price. That price is regret. You might convince yourself in the moment that you're preserving stability or avoiding failure, but over time you'll look back and wonder what could have been. Regret is the weight of untaken actions, the haunting realization that you allowed fear to dictate the limits of your life. And let me tell you, regret is far heavier than the discomfort of facing fear head-on. So how do you overcome it? The first step is to stop running from it. Instead of letting fear dictate your actions, get curious about it. When you feel that knot in your stomach or that voice in your head telling you to stop, ask yourself, why am I afraid? Often you'll find that your fear isn't rooted in reality, it's a projection of what might go wrong. But here's the thing: just as fear imagines failure, it can also imagine success. If you're going to create scenarios in your mind, why not envision the best-case outcomes? Why not use that same imagination to fuel your courage? Once you've named your fear, the next step is to take action anyway. Action is the antidote to fear. It's not about eliminating fear that's impossible and frankly unnecessary. It's about learning to move forward despite it. The act of doing something, even if it's small, chips away at the power fear holds over you. Every step you take diminishes its grip and builds your confidence. And confidence, unlike fear, grows with use. There's also something profound about realizing that fear diminishes when you engage with it directly. What you fear the most often seems enormous when viewed from a distance, but up close it's rarely as daunting as you imagined. The human mind has a way of magnifying threats that aren't truly there. When you take that first step, you shift your perspective. You start to see fear not as an insurmountable wall, but as a doorway you can walk through. Fear also has a strange way of respecting bravery. The more you confront it, the more it retreats. Each time you face fear, you teach yourself that you're capable of handling the challenges that come your way. This is how courage is built, not in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to act despite it. Courage isn't something you're born with, it's a skill you cultivate. And like any skill, it grows stronger the more you practice it. Remember, this fear is temporary, but the rewards of facing it are lasting. When you push past fear, you discover not only the opportunities it was guarding, but also the strength within yourself. You learn that you're far more capable than you believed, that the limits you thought existed were largely self-imposed. And that realization is transformative. It changes how you view the world and your place in it. So don't let fear be the reason you hold back. Recognize it for what it is, a signpost pointing towards something meaningful. Feel it, acknowledge it, and then move forward anyway. Because we often find ourselves waiting for the perfect moment to act, the perfect plan to unfold, or the perfect set of circumstances to align. It's a natural inclination. Perfection feels safe. It feels like a guarantee that things will work out exactly as we envision. But here's the hard truth: perfection is a myth, and the pursuit of it is one of the greatest obstacles to progress. If you're waiting for perfection, you're not preparing yourself for success, you're delaying it indefinitely. Perfection creates the illusion that we can avoid mistakes, failures, and disappointments. It lulls us into believing that if we plan thoroughly enough, work hard enough, and wait long enough, we can control every variable and eliminate every risk. But life doesn't work that way. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of variables we can't foresee or control. The pursuit of perfection isn't just unrealistic, it's paralyzing. It convinces you to stand still when what you really need to do is move forward. The irony of chasing perfection is that it's rooted in fear, the fear of failure, judgment, or falling short. This fear convinces us that taking imperfect action is more dangerous than taking no action at all. But the reality is quite the opposite. Inaction is the true danger, because it ensures that you remain exactly where you are, while the opportunities for growth and achievement slip by. Time, after all, doesn't wait for anyone. While you're busy perfecting your plans, life is moving forward without you. Crucial to understand is that no one starts out perfect. Think of any skill you've ever admired, whether it's in art, science, business, or sports. The people who excel in these fields didn't arrive at their mastery fully formed. They began as novices, fumbling through their early attempts and learning from their mistakes. They didn't wait for perfection before they started and let progress refine their efforts. Mastery isn't achieved in the absence of imperfection, it's born from a willingness to embrace it. When you take imperfect action, you gain something invaluable: momentum. Momentum has a way of breaking through the inertia that keeps you stuck. The first step, no matter how small or clumsy, sets a process in motion. It's like pushing a boulder down a hill. It may require significant effort at first, but once it starts moving, the energy builds and progress becomes inevitable. That momentum is what carries you through the challenges and setbacks that are bound to arise. Imperfect action also provides something that perfection never can: feedback. When you act, even if the results aren't ideal, you learn. You discover what works and what doesn't. You uncover insights that no amount of planning could reveal. This feedback loop is essential for growth. Each misstep becomes a stepping stone, guiding you closer to your goal. Without action, you miss out on this process entirely. You can't adjust your course if you're standing still. Another critical point is that perfection is often a moving target. What you consider perfect today may not be relevant or achievable tomorrow. Markets shift, trends change, and new information emerges. If you're waiting for the perfect plan, you may find that by the time you're ready to act, the circumstances have changed. The world rewards those who adapt, not those who wait. Imperfect action allows you to stay flexible and responsive to the dynamic nature of life. Perfectionism can also be a subtle form of self-sabotage. It gives you a convenient excuse to avoid taking risks. "I'm not ready yet," you tell yourself, and that becomes a justification for staying in your comfort zone. But readiness is a myth. No one ever feels completely prepared to take on a challenge. Readiness comes through action, not before it. The act of doing, of confronting challenges head-on, is what equips you to handle them. And let's not overlook the fact that the pursuit of perfection can drain the joy out of what you're doing. When you focus exclusively on flawless execution, you miss the beauty of the process. The missteps, the experimentation, the unexpected discoveries, these are where the magic happens. They're where you grow not just in skill, but in character. Striving for progress instead of perfection allows you to experience the journey fully and authentically. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, let me save you some time. It will never come. What exists is the moment you have right now with all its imperfections and uncertainties. This is your starting point. It doesn't matter if your first step is shaky or incomplete. What matters is that you take it. Once you do, you'll realize that progress is far more powerful than perfection. Each step forward builds confidence, skill, and clarity, propelling you toward your goals. So stop waiting. Stop obsessing over every detail and worrying about what might go wrong. Instead, focus on what you can do today, right now, with what you have. Remember, every great achievement in history began with an imperfect action. It wasn't flawless execution that built empires, launched revolutions, or changed lives. It was the courage to start, to try, and to keep going despite the imperfections. Progress, not perfection, is what leads to success. Embrace the messiness, the uncertainty, and the occasional failures, because they are all part of the process. When you choose action over hesitation, you set yourself free to learn, grow, and achieve. Don't let the myth of perfection keep you from becoming everything you're capable of. Start where you are and let progress guide the way. Failure is a word that carries so much weight. For many of us, it looms like a shadow, an ever-present threat that whispers, "What if you're not good enough?" It's the fear of failure that stops people in their tracks, holding them back from pursuing their dreams, from taking risks, and from striving for more. But here's the thing about failure. It's not what we think it is. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's not a reflection of your worth or your capabilities. Failure is a step, a necessary, unavoidable step on the path to success. Think about any meaningful achievement in your life or in the lives of others. None of them were achieved without setbacks, mistakes, or missteps. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the same journey. Yet we're conditioned to fear it, to avoid it at all costs, as if experiencing failure means we've reached a dead end. In reality, failure is a teacher. It's a guidepost that shows you what doesn't work so you can refine your efforts and move forward more effectively. When you fail, what's actually happening? You're learning. You're collecting data about your approach, your strategy, and your assumptions. Failure isn't a verdict, it's feedback. It's the universe saying, "Not this way, try again." The most successful people in history didn't avoid failure. They embraced it. They understood that the only way to truly fail is to give up entirely. Every other kind of failure is just a lesson, an opportunity to improve. One of the reasons we fear failure so much is because we tie it to our identity. When something doesn't work out, we take it personally. We think, "I failed, so I must be a failure," but this is a dangerous and false belief. Failing at something doesn't define you. It's an event, not a character trait. The key is to separate who you are from the outcome of your efforts. You are not your failures. You are the person who learns from them, grows because of them, and ultimately becomes stronger through them. The fear of failure also stems from our desire to avoid discomfort. Failure is uncomfortable, it challenges our ego, it forces us to confront our limitations, and it can feel deeply discouraging. But discomfort is where growth happens. When you're too comfortable, you're not pushing yourself, you're not expanding your boundaries or exploring your potential. Failure pushes you into that uncomfortable space where transformation occurs. It's not something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. Another critical aspect of failure is that it builds resilience. Every time you fail and choose to get back up, you're strengthening your ability to endure challenges. Resilience is one of the most valuable traits you can develop because life will throw obstacles your way no matter how skilled or prepared you are. The question isn't whether you'll encounter difficulties, it's how you'll respond to them. Failure gives you the opportunity to practice resilience, to prove to yourself that you can handle setbacks and keep moving forward. Failure also has a way of clarifying what truly matters to you. When you fail, you're forced to ask yourself, is this worth trying again? If the answer is yes, then failure becomes a motivator. It fuels your determination and sharpens your focus. If the answer is no, then failure has done you a favor, it's redirected your energy towards something more meaningful. Either way, it's not wasted effort, it's a step toward alignment with your goals and values. There's a paradox at the heart of failure. The more you fail, the closer you get to success. This is because each failure teaches you something invaluable. It's not the people who never fail who succeed, it's the people who fail the most and learn the most from their failures. Every no gets you closer to a yes, every misstep gets you closer to the right path. Success isn't a straight line, it's a series of zigzags, detours, and course corrections. Think about some of the most groundbreaking achievements in history. Thomas Edison famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, he said he didn't fail, he found thousands of ways that didn't work. This perspective is key. Failure isn't about falling short, it's about discovering what doesn't work so you can refine your approach and eventually succeed. It's also important to remember that failure is temporary. In the moment, it might feel overwhelming, even devastating. But with time, perspective shifts. What seems like a major setback today will often appear as a small blip in the larger narrative of your life. The pain of failure fades, but the lessons it teaches stay with you. Those lessons become the foundation for your future success. So what should you do when you fail? First, acknowledge it. Don't ignore it or pretend it didn't happen. Own your mistakes and examine them. What went wrong? What can you do differently next time? This reflection is where growth begins. Second, don't let failure define you. Remember that it's a moment, not a permanent state. Finally, keep going. The only way to fail permanently is to stop trying. As long as you're moving forward, you're on the path to success. Failure is not the enemy. It's a necessary part of the process, a stepping stone on the journey to greatness. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it propel you forward. Because the only thing worse than failing is never trying at all. Failure is temporary, but the courage to face it can shape your destiny. At some point, we all dream of something bigger, a life that feels fulfilling, a goal that ignites our passion, or a vision of what we could become. But here's the truth that so many people overlook: your dream, no matter how clear or how vivid, won't achieve itself. The world isn't sitting around waiting to hand you your aspirations. If you want it, you have to take responsibility for it. No one is coming to save you, and no one is going to make it happen for you. That responsibility lies entirely in your hands. This can feel like a heavy burden, especially when it's easier to believe that external circumstances are the problem. It's tempting to blame a lack of time, resources, or support for why you haven't started or why you haven't succeeded. But every time you shift the responsibility onto something or someone else, you give away your power. The moment you accept that your dream is your responsibility and no one else's, you reclaim that power. You take control of your future. Taking responsibility for your dream doesn't mean the path will be easy. In fact, it guarantees that the road will be challenging. There will be obstacles and there will be setbacks, but responsibility also gives you agency. It means that you have the ability to choose your actions, to decide how you'll respond to challenges, and to create the conditions necessary for your success. This isn't about blaming yourself for things that go wrong, it's about owning your ability to make them right. It's crucial to understand that responsibility doesn't come with guarantees. There's no promise that you'll succeed just because you work hard or stay committed. But without responsibility, success becomes impossible. It's not enough to hope for your dream, or to wait for the perfect conditions to pursue it. Hope alone won't carry you through the tough times. Responsibility will. When you take ownership of your dream, you commit to doing whatever it takes, regardless of the circumstances. This kind of commitment requires a mindset shift. Instead of waiting for opportunities to come to you, you create them. Instead of waiting for permission, you give yourself permission. Many people never pursue their dreams because they're waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to start. But here's the reality: no one is going to give you that permission. It's your dream, and it's your job to validate it. Responsibility also means accepting that you'll have to make sacrifices. Every dream comes with a cost, whether it's time, effort, money, or comfort. You can't achieve something extraordinary without giving up something ordinary. This is where many people falter. They want the reward, but they're unwilling to pay the price. But when you take responsibility, you understand that the price is part of the process. You accept it, not begrudgingly, but with the understanding that the sacrifices you make today are investments in your future. Another aspect of responsibility is learning to silence the excuses. Excuses are seductive because they absolve us of accountability. I don't have enough time, I'm not talented enough, I'm too old, too young, too busy. These excuses feel valid in the moment, but they're nothing more than barriers we put up to protect ourselves from the fear of failure. When you take responsibility, you stop leaning on excuses. You look at your circumstances honestly and ask, what can I do with what I have right now? It's not about having perfect conditions, it's about making progress despite imperfect conditions. Taking responsibility for your dream also means accepting that failure is part of the journey. There will be moments when things don't go as planned, when your efforts don't yield the results you hoped for. It's easy in those moments to feel defeated, to want to give up. But responsibility means sticking with it even when it's hard. It means seeing failure as a stepping stone, not a stopping point. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to grow stronger. There's also a profound sense of freedom that comes with responsibility. When you accept that your dream is yours to pursue, you free yourself from the need for external validation. You stop waiting for others to believe in you because you've decided to believe in yourself. This doesn't mean you won't seek guidance or support. It's essential to have allies on your journey, but it means that your belief in your dream doesn't depend on anyone else. It comes from within. Taking responsibility for your dream means showing up for it every single day. It means doing the work, even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient, even when progress feels slow. It means committing to the process, not just the outcome. Too often people focus only on the destination, forgetting that the journey is where growth happens. Responsibility means embracing the journey with all its highs and lows, because you understand that the process is what shapes you into the person capable of achieving your dream. Ultimately, taking responsibility for your dream is an act of courage. It's a declaration that you refuse to be a passive participant in your own life. It's a commitment to take ownership of your choices, your actions, and your destiny. The path may not be easy, but it will be worth it, because when you take responsibility, you're not just working toward a goal, you're becoming the kind of person who can achieve it, and that transformation is the real reward. No one is coming to save you, but you don't need them to. You already have everything you need to take that first step. Your dream is waiting for you, not for someone else, not for better conditions, but for. So, take responsibility, own your dream. And watch what happens when you decide to fully show up for your own life. Taking action is one of the simplest concepts to understand, yet one of the hardest to execute consistently. We live in a world filled with distractions, overthinking, and hesitation. Too often, we find ourselves paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong move or overwhelmed by the sheer size of our goals. But action, even small and imperfect, is the only way to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Without action, even the best ideas, the grandest dreams, and the most well-laid plans are nothing more than wishes. The first thing to recognize is that action generates clarity. It's natural to feel uncertain when you're standing at the edge of something new. You don't have all the answers, you don't know all the steps, and the path ahead might feel intimidating. But clarity doesn't come from standing still. It comes from moving forward. Each action you take illuminates the next step. Even if your first move feels small or insignificant, it creates momentum, and that momentum builds direction. Waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect moment is a trap. Perfection is paralyzing, and the pursuit of it will keep you stuck. The truth is, you won't have everything figured out before you start. That's not how progress works. Think of action as a process of discovery. You learn by doing. You figure things out as you go. When you act, you gather information, gain experience, and refine your approach. Inaction, on the other hand, teaches you nothing. It leaves you with only hypothetical scenarios and unanswered questions. One of the most common reasons people hesitate to take action is the fear of failure. But failure, as uncomfortable as it is a crucial part of the process. When you act, you might stumble, but every stumble is an opportunity to learn. Each mistake provides valuable feedback, showing you what doesn't work and bringing you closer to what does. Taking action requires embracing this reality that failure isn't an end, but a step forward. It's only by acting that you can turn failure into a stepping stone towards success. Another important point is that action, even when it feels insignificant, compounds over time. Small, consistent actions have a way of adding up to something extraordinary. Think of a single drop of water. It seems trivial on its own. But drop after drop, day after day, it has the power to wear down stone. The same principle applies to your efforts. You don't need to take giant leaps every day, you just need to keep showing up. Each small step you take moves you closer to your goal. Consistency, more than anything else, is the secret to meaningful progress. Action also has a way of shifting your mindset. It's not just about changing your circumstances, it's about changing how you see yourself. When you take action, you begin to build confidence. Each completed task, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that you're capable. You start to see yourself as someone who takes initiative, someone who follows through, someone who makes things happen. This shift in self-perception is powerful because it fuels a cycle of growth. Confidence leads to more action, and more action leads to greater confidence. It's important to acknowledge that action often requires stepping outside of your comfort zone. This is where resistance creeps in. It's easy to stay where it's safe, where things are familiar and predictable. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Taking action means embracing uncertainty, facing challenges, and sometimes stepping into situations where the outcome is unknown. It's in these moments of discomfort that you stretch your limits and discover what you're truly capable of. One of the most liberating truths about action is that it doesn't have to be perfect to be impactful. Too many people wait until they feel completely ready before they begin, but readiness is an illusion. You become ready by starting. The key is to focus on progress, not perfection. Allow yourself the freedom to make mistakes, to learn as you go, and to adapt along the way. Perfection isn't what moves you forward, action does. Another critical aspect of taking action is that it sparks opportunities. When you're in motion, you position yourself to meet people, encounter situations, and learn things that would have been impossible to access from a standstill. Opportunities don't often come to those who wait passively. They come to those who are already moving, who are actively engaged in the pursuit of their goals. By taking action, you make yourself visible to the opportunities around you. Taking action also combats one of the greatest obstacles to progress: overthinking. The mind has a way of creating endless scenarios, analyzing every detail, and imagining every possible outcome. While some level of planning is necessary, overthinking often leads to paralysis. Action breaks that cycle. It cuts through the noise and shifts your focus from what might happen to what is happening. When you're in the act of doing, you quiet the overanalyzing part of your brain and engage fully with the present moment. In the end, the simplest truth is this: nothing happens until you take action. Dreams remain dreams, plans remain plans, and potential remains untapped unless you're willing to move. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. It's what transforms hope into progress, vision into achievement, and ideas into impact. If there's something you want to accomplish, start today. Start small, start messy, but start. Because every step you take, no matter how imperfect, brings you closer to the life you want to create. In the end, the message is simple yet profound: don't be afraid to do it. Don't let fear, hesitation, or the weight of uncertainty hold you back from stepping into the life you're meant to live. Each of us carries dreams, aspirations, and the potential to create something extraordinary, but that potential can only be realized through action. The fear of failure, the desire for perfection, and the allure of comfort will all try to keep you stationary. But the truth is, growth exists on the other side of fear. Embrace the discomfort of beginning, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small or imperfect, is a step closer to your goal. Understand that failure is not the enemy, it is a guide that shapes and strengthens you along the way. Take ownership of your dreams, because no one else can or will fight for them the way you can. Action, commitment, and responsibility are the tools that turn vision into reality. Your dreams matter. Your voice matters. Your journey matters. Don't wait for the perfect time, for the perfect plan, or for someone else to pave the way. Start now, take the risk, and trust in your ability to adapt, learn, and grow. The road may be long and the challenges may be many, but the rewards of living a life true to your purpose far outweigh the cost of standing still. So don't be afraid to do it, whatever it is for you. Take the leap, face the uncertainty, and step boldly into the unknown. Because in doing so, you'll discover not only the life you've always wanted, but also the strength, resilience, and courage you've had within you all along.